Hello, today I have a message called The Goodness Without Opposite That Is Real. Okay, so starting with your strength is their strength. So it's important to see anyone within any situation as strong in peace. And I had an opportunity to do this last night. I felt disturbance as someone came to mind, and the disturbance felt pretty deep. So when I ran into this statement this morning, to see anyone within any situation as strong in peace, I worked on it last night, but I still felt like the ghost of it with me this morning. And just seeing that, the opportunity to see anyone as strong in peace, that felt very healing. Like that's the reality of everybody, regardless of appearances, because we know how chaotic and meaningless appearances are. Their being is strong in peace. That felt very solid, very reassuring, very helpful. Your strength is their strength, so it's important to see anyone within any situation as strong in peace. And that helps me realize how often I still slice and dice and believe the difference is real rather than the sameness. But I feel grateful for the opportunity, the challenge to look at any situation and remember the strength of anyone in it. If I believe someone's being especially hurt by something, it doesn't mean that there's not something helpful I can do, but I can often see that my urge to do or to help comes from fear, guilt, and anxiety. And if I can take that extra beat to see, oh, you're actually strong in peace, I'm going to hold that in my mind primarily. I'm not going to see you as weak, vulnerable. Now, what am I guided to do? I do find that we have that time. It's the ego that says there's a terrible emergency and you must act now. It's the ego that promotes fear, which doesn't actually exist. That's quite a pickle we've gotten ourselves into, isn't it? But it's solvable. I have done this thing and it is this I wouldn't do. Or everyone in every situation is strong in peace. Our minds together are very strong. And then from that basis, from that reorientation, if there's something to say, it's obvious. If there's something to do, it's obvious. But taking that time first to reorient, to be really strong in our shared, actual, sane foundation, that feels very important. It's important to see anyone in any situation as safely, helpfully connected to everyone and everything. That's what I don't see when I feel guided by ego to act from anxiety. I'm forgetting that every being in the situation is safely connected to everyone and everything as they truly are, not as they appear to me now. They're helpfully connected to everyone and everything. So if I see a victim, I'm forgetting the victim is helpful and a helper. If I'm seeing an aggressor, I'm forgetting the aggressor's true nature is helpfulness, and they're a helper in their being. I'm not talking about how ego would interpret the physicality, how ego would interpret what is being seen visually. I'm talking about the equal beings. And we do have, time is gentle in our learning. We do have time to stop and focus on, you are a being and you're safely connected to everyone and everything. Our mind is shared. If I hold that thought in my mind, that is being helpful. That is taking action. Taking time to stop, to get your mind in proper order and to relax into the calm that is here, that is taking action. And from there, if something else is needed, it's obvious. Anyone in any situation, no matter how disturbing it appears, that one is helpfully connected to everyone and everything. Think of how easy it is to forget that when we're in the midst of a situation like that. And you can also think of when you're in a situation that seems stressful or intense, that there was a ramp up to that situation. And I observe that in the ramp up to any situation that feels tense or uncomfortable, that I have ignored signs and signals to stop and reorient. I didn't. So that leaves me in a place where I understand stopping to reorient is truly important. It's very, very important. And then my willingness to stop and reorient and see you as you are expands. So it's important to see anyone in any situation as safely, helpfully connected to everyone and everything. In everyone and everything, safety is the truth of it, no matter what the appearance is. Helpfulness is the truth of it, no matter what the appearance is. An ego will launch into stories about how this would be a crazy orientation and how you will get yourself into trouble. So if you remember to relax out of those stories and understand you're not going to do anything you're deathly afraid of doing, you're not going to try to intentionally harm yourself with illusions, you're just trying to relax into a sane space from which you can get calm, clear, obvious, sane instruction that helps you see the other in the full light of their glory, in their fullness, in their wholeness, in their completeness, not lacking. I think I'm not good at Bible stuff, but what came to mind is maybe Jesus saying something like, I was hungry and you fed me, I was thirsty and you gave me drink. It's something like that. I was lacking and you gave me something. Well, when we see every other who's not an other as safe, we're giving them safety. They're hungry and we're giving them food. If we see them as helpful, their being is helpful. No matter what appears on the surface, we're giving them drink. So that this is a way of giving. And as we give to all we call other who aren't and never could be other, never were other, we give to ourselves, which means we remember ourselves as we are and always have been. We just remember, we recognize, we become aware. It's not like we ever did lack anything real. Okay, everyone's connection to everyone and everything is their true power source. So by focusing on it for them, it seems like that's what happens. You make them aware of an endless supply of energy on behalf of the perception of goodness without opposite. So again, without taking physical action, we can take mindful action. So we can take mindful action to remember everyone's connected to everyone and everything. And the thing that connects us is our true power source. As I say this, I'm almost blinded by the sun shining in the window here. It's endless. It's hard for me to look at the screen. It's endless. It's powerful. It belongs to all right now, regardless of any appearances. And we learn to focus on this huge, beautiful power. We, throughout our day, face any fear we have, because any fear we have about anything is fear of this power we share, real power. It's fear of real power that's available to everyone and everything right now. There's a fear it would be used against us, and we think of ourselves as a separate thing. It's going to be used against a separate thing I call me. But really this power is just used, feels like the wrong word, but the best one I can find, on behalf of everyone and everything all the time. Below the surface of what we have insisted on perceiving, on the surface of what we've insisted on perceiving, here comes the bright light again. on the surface of that, it's so thin. And underneath that is all this abundant resource, this obviously non-polluting energy source that belongs to all of us all the time. It feels like the biggest joke in the world. It's like that story about a man's looking for a treasure, and someone comes by and says, but you're sitting on it. He's been sitting on this box. His treasure's in the box. He had his treasure all along. We never didn't have our treasure. We never didn't have our abundant power source. It's just we're learning how to stop fearing it, and we're learning how to allow it to shine forth everywhere we look. So we can focus on this power source when anyone comes to mind and see this power that we have feared as what they are. So no wonder we'd be defensive. We're fearing the power they are, but the power they are is the power we are. And there's an endless supply of this power, and it's not a power that could harm, because power or harm isn't real. It's imagined. It's on this thin surface we're using to try to forget the power everyone and everything shares eternally, to try to forget it. So there's an endless supply of energy, and this endless supply of energy doesn't even feel like the right word, but again, it's the best I can do. It's an abundant resource available to everyone and everything, because that's what they are. And it helps us remember and recognize that goodness without opposite is the core, the true being of everyone and everything. And it's okay to see that now. It's safe. Here comes a bright light again. It's like the clouds come in front of it, and then it comes back. Okay, is there anything else here? Everyone's connection to everyone and everything is their true power source. So by focusing on it for them, you make them aware. I could even restate that, like you stop seeing them as they aren't, and you begin seeing them as they always have been. So you focus on their true power source for them, and you make them aware, because that's you over there. So as you become aware, they become aware of an endless supply of energy on behalf of the perception of goodness without opposite. Now, as long as we think there's something to gain from seeing fault in someone, because when we're looking at this crust of perception we've put on top of the power we are, the opposites, the good versus evil, the beauty versus ugliness, the night versus day. We've used this thin little crust to try to obliterate the only power there is. That'll never work. But when we think this thin little crust is real, we think there's benefit in finding fault in others, because then we're not finding it in us. It doesn't matter how big that seems to be, whether you're finding a fault with your neighbor on your street, or you're finding fault with a political leader. The fault isn't in you at that moment, and it seems to give some relief. But if all the opposites are false and never existed and were only imagined, then it would be a waste of time to try to locate, analyze, convince others of, and uphold as real fault in an attempt to try to fix this crust. Instead, we allow the light to shine through this crust and transform it, and show us what was here all along. And we don't have to have any guilt for covering that up. We were just very confused, and we use something unreal. We use something unreal to cover up what is real. So there's no guilt necessary, because wrongdoing, as real as we have made it seem in our imagination, isn't possible and never happened. As real as we have made it seem in our imagination, this is sacred to the ego. So anything that would come up and fight and say, but this is real, like I was killed, I have been harmed, we come to recognize I wasn't really. If you recall other lifetimes, You don't have to recall other lifetimes, because that's not even true. But that could be a lens to show you, oh, I killed myself in imagination. I killed the body. I was a participant in what I seem to be a victim of. You come to remember that, to recognize, oh my goodness. And it's not a fault, it's a deep confusion. And what we're doing is emerging from our deep confusion together with forgiveness, of course, forgiveness, because we haven't been seeing the true being of everyone and everything. We've been seeing what we wanted to see instead on top of it. And it doesn't matter which opposite we selected to see on top of a particular part of us. It's all us that we're looking at. Whether we saw the beautiful or the ugly, it's the same thing if it's an opposite. If it's a beauty in opposition to ugliness, it's just part of this crust we've been using to cover up our true shared power. So it's okay to focus on the power and to allow the crust of what we invented that seems to be covering it up to just go its way, to be transformed and temporarily, however the power is going to transform it to show us a reflection of goodness without opposite, to point back to what's real. Okay, let's see. I think that's everything there. I'm just seeing which thing did I say? I think I didn't say yet. If you see everyone and everything is powered by the goodness without opposite that is real, then you perceive a direct reflection. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. You perceive a direct reflection of goodness without opposite. So in any situation I'm in, that's what I can remember. Their true power is goodness without opposite. If I'm seeing suffering as powering them, I'm just mistaken. And I can be willing to have my mistake corrected. It's a perceptual error. I can be willing to perceive a direct reflection of goodness without opposite. It's just something that communicates to you immediately. It's not anything you need an ego to judge. Just a direct reflection of harmlessness. I can be willing to see that because that's the truth of everyone and everything. If I think the essential truth of anyone or anything is an opposite, you're good and the other guy's bad, you're innocent and the other guy's guilty, I'm not going to allow the direct reflection of goodness without opposite. But when I begin to remember the true nature of everyone and everything, despite any opposite appearances, is the same thing, then I begin to allow the direct reflection of goodness without opposite. So if you see everyone and everything is powered by the goodness without opposite that is real, it's like we have to look behind everything, behind our invention, that's what seems to be real in this moment, to the goodness without opposite that is actually there, and give it permission and say, shine forth. I allow you. I don't need to see a representation of what you aren't anymore. I don't need to keep replicating the past I perceive for this one or this thing. I'm ready. Shine on. Okay. This energy source to which everyone and everything is connected is pre-programmed to help all recognize the goodness without opposite that is real within everyone and everything. So we're all connected to the same energy source. And there's a pre-programming in there. And you could call this pre-programming the will of God. As soon as we perceived we had a problem, there was a solution provided in the form of the Holy Spirit, the communication link between God and us, because we perceive a gap. There is no gap. But now there seems to be this link taking up that space, the Holy Spirit. So we're all connected to the same energy source, and it's pre-programmed, aka the will of God, the plan for salvation, to help all recognize the goodness without opposite that is real. within everyone and everything. That core, nothing's more important than that core. Stopping to analyze the appearance of opposites that we've been projecting on everyone and everything is just going to keep us in the past. But what is now? What is now is the core of the goodness without opposite that truly is everyone and everything. Everyone and everything is you. And you are goodness without opposite. You've always been that. And no matter how hard you try, or how much you imagine, or how many experiences you use thought to give yourself, you can't ever achieve being anything other than goodness without opposite. And everyone and anything you look at, same goes for them. They can't achieve the goal of truly becoming a good that has an opposite, of truly becoming a bad that has an opposite. We can play act, we can pretend, we can be on the stage, we can perceive an alignment with our desire to see and experience opposition and to cover up the power we share. That's all we can do. We cannot check off that box that says, sometimes I say, check, you experienced hell. Okay, you're done. But we cannot ever truly be something that's not goodness without opposite. You cannot truly be something that is not you. And you are everywhere and everything. And I hate to break it to you, but you're harmless. You can't be harmful. You can pretend and you can imagine. But that's finite. It's inevitable that ends. And we can hasten the ending of pretending that harm is real by remembering, by recognizing, by becoming aware. That is imagined. The goodness without opposite is very powerful, nothing more powerful, shared and real. We can begin to prefer to put our attention on that and to let it have its way. Okay, the energy source to which everyone and everything is connected is pre-programmed to help all recognize the goodness without opposite that is real within everyone and everything. So this is our future. Observing, experiencing ourselves, remembering and recognizing the goodness without opposite that is real within everyone and everything, and observing and experiencing those we call others, becoming aware of, recognizing, remembering, waking up to, goodness without opposite, that's me. It's in everyone and everything. We're all the same. This is what we can expect to see. We can expect to see pain turn to joy because of what is real, because the other stuff has been pretending. No matter, the special effects are great here, no matter how real it seems. It can seem very real. And it operates for all of us that way in our experience, but with willingness to see through what isn't real, we begin to observe and experience a very direct reflection of what is real. So that is why we have nothing to fear. And as we can challenge fear every time we experience it, and find a thought we believe and set it down and remember, I'm like Papa, I am what I am. Did I say Papa, Popeye? Whatever I said. I am what I am. I am goodness without opposite, and no matter how hard I try, I can't change it. And as I look across my world to anyone or anything, no matter what I'm pretending, they're the same. Nothing is simpler than that. So that one's not hard to remember. Okay. So happy awakening, happy healing, happy remembering, and thank you.